If you're thinking about buying a property for short-term rental in Columbia, South Carolina, some key things will impact your decision to invest here. I'm Bethany, and I'm a realtor here in Columbia. I also invest myself, and I've operated 2 of my own rentals on Airbnb. Let's get into the short-term rental landscape here in Columbia and exactly what you need to know. Columbia, like many other cities, recently implemented regulations that govern short-term rentals. City Council passed this ordinance in April of 2023 after a year and a half of negotiations between short-term rental owners and owner-occupied homeowners. Columbia's regulations are certainly very reasonable when compared to other larger cities here in the US and around the world, but these are the rules right now. These regulations are subject to change, and I feel confident that they likely will. The at-large council member who was the big driver in opposing short-term rentals in residential areas is not seeking re-election this year, so it'll be interesting to see how the future council develops this policy in coming years. If you're thinking of investing in short-term rentals, you should also know that Richland and Lexington counties are in early talks about implementing their own policies on short-term rentals, so you need to keep an eye on those guys too. If you're considering renting out your property on platforms like Airbnb or VRBO, you will need to register it with the City of Columbia. All short-term rentals are required to have a business license and pay an annual permit fee. It is good for 1 year, and it's $100 if you occupy the home in some capacity, and it's $250 annually for that business license if you do not occupy the home. Zoning regulations are a key part of short-term rental rules in many cities, but here in Columbia, we do not currently have any zoning restrictions against where a short-term rental can be located. However, this is something that was strongly considered when these policy negotiations began, so it's important to keep an eye on City Council's tone and the demands of local homeowners who might continue pushing for this change. Noise complaints and limited parking are a common concern in short-term rentals here in downtown Columbia. A lot of homes in downtown Columbia do not have off-street parking. Everyone is parking curbside, and there's not always assigned parking spots for each home. So a lot of homeowners get touchy when Airbnb guests are parking in front of their home and making life more complicated for them on a daily basis. One issue I had with my own rental properties were tenants and guests trying to park on the grass and create their own off-street parking, which is totally not allowed by me or by the city. So make sure your guests park exactly where you tell them to, and you will avoid getting a code enforcement notice from the police. Columbia does have a noise ordinance in place between 10 p.m. and 8 a.m., so it's important that your guests are aware of these rules and that they're respectful of the neighbors that are likely full-time residents and homeowners. In South Carolina, if you live in a property as your primary residence, you get a tax break. But if a property is not owner-occupied and it's an investment property, like a short-term rental, your taxes will be about 3.5 times higher. And then your taxes will also increase again because the county is going to reassess your property value at some point after closing. So that 3.5 time increase is based on the most recent and likely higher property sales price that you paid. I know it's a lot. I own several investment properties, so I feel your pain here, truly I do. I always run a tax estimate for my clients when they're considering buying an investment property so that they know exactly what to expect and they are not caught off guard after closing. If you are still keen on investing in short-term rentals in Columbia after hearing this, and you want to know what your options are, reach out so we can talk about your real estate goals and how my team and I can help you accomplish them. My contact information is in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in this next video about investing in real estate right here in Columbia, South Carolina.